Hello everyone, I'm Mike, and I'm one of the Avionics project leads on the Synaptic A22X. Now I just want to give you guys a bit of an update on sort of what's been going on behind the scenes, what we've been working on, what we are going to be doing in the near future, and just this sort of overall state of the current avionics in the aircraft. Now, I would first want to welcome you to our in-house development application, the Advanced Cockpit Emulator, and it basically just allows us to develop these screens outside of the simulator. It exposes all of the same sort of variables as the simulator does, but it reduces the need to wait for loading times and overload our computers with the simulator's graphics. Now, this greatly helps us develop these screens quickly and do some rapid prototyping, and it's proved to be an invaluable asset to us. There's a few features I want to show off, and we'll first look at the checklists. So go down to this screen down here, and this is the checklists format for the multifunction window. Now, you are currently seeing the list of normal procedures. These are taken from a real aircraft, and these are pretty much one-to-one accurate to what actual pilots use in flight. So let's take a look at some of these checklists real quick. So let's look at the power on checklist. You'll immediately see some items are already green. These are known as sensed items, and they basically use the current state of the aircraft to determine whether they've been completed or not. Now, in the real aircraft, once you've sort of been switching knobs on and off, you would see these turn green as you do so. But in the program ACE, these are just all set to be true. And that's why they're all green already. There's also these items here, which you can manually hit. So let's say, all right, we have the checklist open on display unit 2, and we don't really need anything else here, so we're done, and we can mark the checklist as complete. Now, just as the real aircraft does it, if you have a completed checklist and you open it again, it actually gets reset, so you can do it again if you need to. But let's take a look at some other ones. Pre-flight checklist includes something known as a conditional. Basically, it asks you some question, and you take one of two paths. So let's say we are the first flight of the day, and it immediately tells you you need to complete these items. Whereas if you click no, it's going to tell you to go to the next page, and you'll see that the items are down here. Now let's go back up. Let's say we are the first flight of the day, and let's say we've finished all of these checklist items. Once we reach the end, you'll notice that it will automatically send you to the next page. And then once you've hit these, it will give you the option to complete. Another thing you can do is if you have an item that, let's say, is sensed, but you can't get it to turn green, what you can do is you can actually override the item and do grayed out and mark it as complete. You can do these for any items, and once you do it for all of them, you complete the checklist. Now you can also do that for the entire checklist if you hit override checklist, and it'll show up as overridden in the list. Now, something cool about these checklists is that you can actually create your own. What we've done is we've created this format where you can type in each individual item, and you can specify these conditional paths, and you can specify what simulator variables are being looked for in these sensed items. And you can just make your own checklists, and you can share them amongst yourselves. In the future, we plan to also create some sort of online tool that will give you a more user-friendly user interface to create these checklists and to verify that they're correct. But it should give a very nice level of sort of customization for simulator pilots out there. I believe that is pretty much everything we have for checklists. In the future, we will also implement non-normal and procedure checklists, but those are mostly to do with failure conditions that we don't really have set up yet, so we are going to wait until those are in place before we focus our efforts on those. Now, the next big thing we've been working on is CPDLC. You might have heard in our server that we're working on some sort of shared protocol for this with other networks and aircraft developers. So what we've done is we've gathered a working group with the big networks and other aircraft developers to sort of come together and talk about what we want from a more modern CPDLC implementation than what Hoppy currently offers. We believe that Hoppy is getting very old and not really meeting the needs of networks and pilots anymore. So we want to do something that is more true to life. It's based on the actual ICAO specification for data link communications, and it should be relatively simple for both aircrafts and for both networks and aircraft developers to implement. What we're currently doing is we have a rough draft for the protocol done. We're just doing some test implementations of it to make sure that any issues are ironed out before we actually settle on something altogether. So we've done a little bit of work implementing that in our aircraft. So if we go to the CPDLC tab of the communications format, this data is currently just like placeholder stuff, but in the future you will see the current network that is offering data link services to your aircraft. So if you have vPilot open, you'll see VATSIM. If you have iVal's client open, you'll see iVal. And then these fields are populated from your flight plan, and you have the option of logging on to the CPDLC network. What you can also do is you can make certain requests. So let's say you want to request a different altitude. Let's say you want to request the altitude 23,000 feet. You can type that in there. You can hit set, and it will generate a message for you. You can also toggle some of these flags, such as due to weather and due to aircraft performance, and it'll update your message as needed. These are taken from the actual CPDLC standard in real life, and they are one-to-one accurate. There's also the option of doing a block altitude, so it will sort of request a range of altitudes rather than just one. There's also offset requests. There are speed requests. There are route requests where you can ask to be rerouted to an airport or a waypoint or coordinates. There's also voice requests to request voice contact. Not all of these pages are done yet, but we hope to have all of these ready for you when it's done. You can also view your message log. So this is whatever messages you have sent. Those are the ones with the down arrow, or messages that you have received from ATC. Those are the ones with the up arrow. And you can filter based on whether they're open or not. So whether you've replied to them or if they're still waiting a response. I think that pretty much sums up what we've done so far in CPDLC. Most of the remaining work is just to make sure that the protocol we've created is actually complete and as easy to implement as we think it is. And it should give us a lot of good, realistic CPDLC operations on networks. Now, the last big thing we want to show off is something known as graphical flight planning. So I'm sure you remember us showing off our flight planning and map options. So let's say we have a flight plan from Zurich to Munich. Let's just pick some random departure. I'm not even sure if this goes the correct way, but we'll just go with this. And this is still the same map we've had before, but let's say we now want to manually draw some new routes. So let's open the navaids, for example. What we can do is we can actually say, from DegAce, let's reroute to this waypoint. And it will automatically insert that into your flight plan. And you can keep doing this to your heart's content. You can go as crazy as you want. And in the end, you can hit end, and you can execute the flight plan. And you'll see that in your route, it will have a direct to whatever points you clicked. This works with VORs, NDBs, DMEs, waypoints, airports. You can even insert just a random location. So you can do insert after KPT. And that will also put that in your flight plan. What you can also do is you can use the insert after functionality, or rather, you can use the reroute functionality to cut short a certain part of the flight plan. So let's say you want to skip the KPT. You just do this. This becomes very useful once you get to, let's say, a arrival procedure. So let's go to Munich and let's select some sort of ILS approach. Once again, I'm just clicking random procedures, but let's then go over to our arrival. Okay, that's not a very good example. Let's pick this. So it becomes very useful when you want to cut short your like downwind leg, and you can just say, oh, great. You can say reroute from here over to Landu or something. But this gives you a lot of options for just interactively creating your flight plan as you want. The possibilities are kind of endless here. It depends on what you're doing. If you're flying an ILS, you can, again, cut short your downwind leg. If you're really ambitious, you can create your whole flight plan here. But it's very cool functionality that we have, and we hope that you guys are going to like using it. Now, you might have noticed me clicking around some stuff. We have implemented sort of pop-up windows for all types of navigational aids. So if you click on this VOR here, you can tune it into your frequencies. You can center your map over it. You can also create radius circles around it. So let's say you set a distance of like 10 nautical miles. It doesn't like that. Is it 10.0? Yeah. And it will draw a circle of radius 10 nautical miles around the waypoint. And this is useful for intercepting DMEs. It's useful for all sorts of things. And you can do the same thing with radial crossing. So if you actually have a leg going through this, you can specify some radial to cross at. So let's actually try one of these. Let's try crossing it at, let's say, 180 degrees. And it will draw the line there, and you have your intersection point right there. But that's pretty much it for all of the interactive things I can show off to you. Everything else has just been in terms of optimization and simplifying our project structure to make it easier to work with. And we hope to bring you more updates this year. Should be a very exciting year in terms of content and new features. And we hope you're just as excited as us to witness it. But thank you very much, and take care.